All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Great to be with you here on another episode of Beyond the Resume. It's been almost a year now since I retired from the Marine Corps. January 31st will be one entire year that I've been retired. And I had a lot on my mind as I went through that process. But the one thing I knew was whatever I was going to do, I was only going to do it with people of character. And that is everything about today. And that is why my guest today, Mr. Audie Cooper, the CEO of JCTM, retired Marine, and an incredible man in person, is my guest today. That's why I've got Audie on here. Audie, thank you. Happy New Year. Thanks for being on the show today.
No, Scott, thanks for having me, and congratulations to you and your business, S2 Stalker Solutions. I mean, you said it, only a year, and look at what you've accomplished. And just let me, brag on you for a second. The meaningful work that you do for our veterans, what you give in the way of your time, your talent, and treasure is commendable. And in my opinion, still serving. So really, really honored to be here today, and Happy New Year, my friend.
Thank you. That'll be the last time we do any talking about me, though. We edit anything out that's.
I'll see if I can circle it back.
Right. No, I appreciate it. No, but yeah, Happy New Year. So the 3rd of January, really excited to kick this one off. As you know, my audience predominantly veterans and service members, and so I thought, who better than both a veteran and a CEO of a company to come on today. And we're going to walk the life cycle of your active duty time, getting out, starting a business, and then what you look for now as you own your own company, what that looks like. So really excited to have you on today and to show everything. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there listening, let us know where you're listening from, where you're watching from. And if you have any questions for Audie, put those in the comment section there so I can see them. And we'll go from there, because this is a rare opportunity where you get to talk to a CEO about things in business, in defense contracting, hiring, firing, resumes, you name it. And let me just say up front, not that there is a conflict of interest, because this is my own show, but I am a paid consultant for Audie. I'm on his board, a paid advisor. But the one thing that I have committed to, and any person that I advise, is the truth. Whether that's a 4-star or a CEO, they're always going to hear it to me straight and honest. And then if they don't like that, then I'll go somewhere else. So with that being said, and we haven't had that yet. With that being said, great to have you, Audie. So if you could, a little bit about yourself, sir. Tell us who is Audie Cooper, the veteran, the Marine, the CEO, and the husband and the father.
Yeah, no, hey, thanks, Scott. So yeah, nothing, I guess, overly earth-shattering here. Retired jarhead, right? 22 years of active duty service, specialized in the intel field. I know oxymoron, Marine intelligence. I know get the laughs in there, get the comments. But in my career, 22 years, I was just very grateful to serve. The Marine Corps taught me a lot, gave me tremendous opportunity. And as the Corps says, they gave me the opportunity to deploy multiple times overseas, of which I did. 2 of those were combat tours, and God rest the souls of our veterans and brothers and sisters that are not here with us today. Always like to mention that. But also, one of the highlights of my career is I had the privilege, Scott, I don't know if you know this, but of serving as a commanding officer, as a captain. You don't get a lot of those, right? But I was in charge of a training unit in Pensacola, Florida, in charge of 300 Marines under the age of 21 in Pensacola, Florida. I don't know how I kept my job, but it was a great tour. And my wife fell in love with the beaches there in Pensacola. So retired in 2015, founded JCTM, Joint Computer Technology and Training Management, JCTM for short. And we are celebrating 10 years of operations this March in 2025. We're pretty excited about that. We are a North Carolina-based firm, and we specialize in providing what we call professional services, or services, to the U.S. government. And our core competencies are IT, cybersecurity, intelligence, information, and artificial intelligence. And I have the privilege of what I like to say, serving as JCTM's CEO. And A couple of things that are important to our company, Scott, are prioritizing our people, our clients, and our mission over profit. And also, we have a belief that something called culture conscious, that we believe that every JCTMer who comes into our team has a role, an integral role in shaping who we are as a company. And those are kind of the bedrock foundational cultural assumptions of which our company is formed on. So you have a jarhead tonight, 22 years of active duty service, been a CEO for 10 years now, founded the company as a veteran-owned company, and looking forward to the questions tonight, Scott.
Awesome. And I was tracking the fact that you were a company commander down there in Pensacola. We talked about that, and I thought that was awesome because I've been down there a few times, and in my hat with Cyber Command and NSA. What a lot of people will tell you is that they put people over profit. You hear this a lot. Those are very nice words. They look good. You can even print them out and put them on the wall and point to those and make yourself feel good. But I'll share with the audience a moment. I won't get into specifics for confidentiality, where I was in a meeting with you, and we were likely going to lose a teammate, lose a job, not their life, but they were going to lose a job. Mm-hmm. And you said we would do everything possible to keep this individual. Where, having consulted for other companies and seen the other side of business now, I know for certain when that contract goes, they go as well. They are expendable. So when you say that, it's not just something you say, you actually live it. And that is, again, why, not to get into my finances, but why when I chose to come to JCTM, what I would get paid was tertiary. It wasn't even, it was all about being with people of character and value, and seeing a CEO say that and then seeing you live it really meant a lot. That's remarkable, where we truly do put people over profits. Now, you still have to make a profit in order to hire people.
You do, yeah.
How do you wrestle with that conundrum? Because this isn't easy. This business side, as I see more and more, as I'm dipping into this, and I hope to be a JCTM quality company in a decade. How do you wrestle with that people over profits proposition, Audie?
Well, I think it's people and mission over profit, and you have to provide exceptional services, and it's tough. You're going to make sacrifices to maintain that with your time, your talent, and your treasure, and it's a balance. There's times where you want to hey, this is what we want to do for the morale of the company, the people of the company, but we just can't do that because it would end the company. And those are the toughest decisions that I face at times.
Yeah.
So it's a balance. It's hard. You got to make some tough decisions, but our theory over time is that our government clients, the people will see that. They'll see that we're mission focused, we're people focused, and profit is important. And you said it, Scott, we do have to be profitable or we wouldn't have a company. But that comes second to accomplishing the mission and taking care of our people. And I think you can do all three. And we've been able to do that for the last 10 years. And has it stunted our growth at times? Has it slowed our revenue? Absolutely. And, at times, does that stink? It does. But it's more important for us to err on the side of the people and the mission. And over time, I think it all works out.
Yeah, I think so too. There's a lot of theories out there, business theories. Steve Jobs will tell you in order to grow, you have to get rid of the bottom 10% annually. I think that's a bit extreme. But if you look at the result, obviously Apple has, I don't know if anyone's done from a financial and economic perspective, been more successful. So to your point, it is a balancing act. And it's not that people can get lax and not perform. They do perform. We got some great talent there, and I want to get into that about JCTM. If you could, what are you looking for in talent, and what goes through your mind, Audie? And I want our veterans and our service members that are listening. This is a CEO who's going to make that final decision to hire somebody. What are you looking for to hire folks, so that the audience can hear this and start putting that in their basket as well?
Yeah, no, Scott, great question. And it's subjective, right? Different organizations, different cultures, and not that, what we're looking for is better than the next guy. And, so let me start with that. And then, secondly, I just have such tremendous respect, for our veterans, right? All services. And, whether you served for a few years, served for like you did, 69 years, Scott, you served, actually, come on. But, I just have such tremendous respect for our veterans, and I'm certainly biased, right? Being a veteran, and don't get me wrong, we hire, folks that aren't veterans too. And that's important too, from a diversity and strength standpoint. But, for us, the veterans that we're looking for, they still want to serve. They still want to serve, and they have a passion to serve and protect their nation. And that stands out. Am I looking, I've done 20, 30 years, and look, I just want a job where I can, punch a clock, do my thing, and go fishing and golf a lot more and spend time with my kids or grandkids. And there is nothing wrong with that. And we've got some of those jobs, right? And that matches up well. But, kind of coming into the core of our company, if you want to be here with us on this vision, on this ride, you still have to have that fire in you that I still want to serve. It's different. I don't want to do the 6-month, year-long deployments anymore, or go to a combat zone, but I still want to find a way to serve our nation. And we're passionate about that. And that shows in your resume, that shows in your interview, in your preparation, and how you've studied our company. And that will become very clear to us. And, one of the questions we ask, and I'm kind of giving it away here, and I think our HRO, Stephen Smith, might shoot me for this, but one of the questions we ask in our interviews is, where do you see yourself 6 months in the company, and how do you see your job 6 months from now within JCTM supporting our country, supporting your family, supporting JCTM? And that's kind of a loaded question, right? And It's a tough one, and it causes them to think, but if you're passionate about it, you're probably going to have some good answers.
Yeah, I love that, because I always I spend an awful lot of my time thinking about tomorrow and the future, not dwelling on it, but focusing on it, and trying to carve a path. So that would be a fascinating question for me, And when you came to me, I mean, again, you came out to my retirement ceremony, you and Tiffany. It was awesome to have you there. We talked prior, and you made me an offer, and I let you know, and I wasn't sure really what this world looked like. I didn't know what to expect. And man, you really helped me out. But the one thing I wasn't sure of was this idea of getting a job, right? And so your advice was, well, you don't necessarily have to get a job. There's this thing called a 1099, which has really been a godsend for me, because I'm not employed by anybody. But I'm connected to you and others, and you help me out with those others as well. Can you talk to the audience a little bit about what the difference is between an employee and that 1099, so they get an understanding? And this is just for the audience to understand that there are options out there. And then we'll talk later about potentially if they want to start their own company, there's that option as well.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So, you're looking, there's options, to your point, Scott, government, civilian job. Do I want a full-time W-2 position? You'll hear this term FTE in the industry, contract side, full-time equivalent, right? That's a certain number of hours per year. Do I want a part-time W-2? And that is where you're employed by that company, right? It's a at-will employment relationship, meaning you, the employee, or the employer can terminate the relationship at any time. And you kind of need to know the legalities behind that. It's pretty straightforward, right? And then there's the 1099. And the 1099, you typically have a couple different forms. One of them is going to be an individual 1099, where you don't really have a lot of clients. You have a small business, by name, an LLC, if you will, or S Corp, and you really might only have 1 or 2 clients, and you're not really building the back end of your business. And they'll call that an individual, 1099 relationship. And that company that is hiring you as a consultant, that's a teaming agreement, if you will, or a contract where you provide a service. You're not an employee for that company, but you provide them a service, and it's specified in that contract for a certain set rate, hourly rate, travel, things like that can be negotiated in there. But that is kind of the premise of the 1099 relationship. And an individual 1099, a company can carry your clearance. They can provide insurance for you. Some of those things you might not have if you don't have a robust portfolio of clients, where you have maybe a corporate 1099, a larger company where you have multiple clients. And as you start to grow that, you're going to need some of those back end things, insurance and accounting systems and invoicing systems as your clients grow. So there's just kind of, my opinion of some of the options that you have out there to pursue.
And for those listening, that's what you got to think about. Do you need to or want to find a job, be an employee? Do you need to or want to do nothing? And then maybe everything in between, start your own company, be a 1099. Point is there are options. And I think the most important thing for those that are getting ready to decide what they're going to do is to know what all of those options are. Audie, I've got a question to you. I'm going to come here in a moment with where I'm going to ask you what made you decide to start a company? Why didn't you go what some would be considered the easier route, which is to just get a job, right? So I'll come to that in a minute. But Sam Lewis here, who I know, she's interested in she's coming from Delaware in the Philly area. Are veterans more aware of the importance of mission within a business? So I think I know what the answers are here, but what are your thoughts with veterans? Are they more focused on the more aware of the mission or not?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Sam. And I think so, by nature, right? What is your mission? What is your end state, right? What is your objectives? And most veterans kind of understand that, right? There's a mission statement in most units and organizations. And a lot of companies will put their mission statement out there or their vision statement, and those are kind of different things, or their values, right? Their, core values or things like that, right? And all those things are important. But to your question, Sam, and I think it's a good one, is I would, ask our veterans to do their homework on that company that they're seeking employment for, and really dive into their mission or their vision or their values, what they have listed. And if the company's really good, they'll have their culture assumptions listed as well. And then ask about those questions during the interview. One of the things that I really like to see in an interview, there's a couple things, but one that I am always impressed with is when the veteran asks questions. Typically at the end of the interview, we'll ask, hey, do you have any questions for us? And most of them say no, but a few of them will have meaningful questions. And when I say meaningful questions, they're asking about the company, about the mission. They're asking, how do I fit into this organization? I had somebody today say, well, what does a win look like? If you guys select me for this job and I take this job, and I like that, what does a win look like for the company? How do I integrate with the team? And tell us more about your mission and why that's important. Those kind of questions, you're going to get the folks that are interviewing, they should get pretty excited about that when they hear those. Good question, Sam.
Yeah, great one. Benjamin, I see your question. I'll come to that in a minute. I want to stick with the theme here, though. So, Audie, you're getting ready to retire from the Marine Corps. You're talking to your wife about what's next, what's on the horizon. This thing of JCTM doesn't necessarily exist yet. How did you come to that decision? What were some of the challenges you faced? And what should veterans be thinking about if they want to pursue a similar route about starting their own company?
I mean, that's a lot to unpack, Scott, in one question, and we probably need another follow-on, but, it's a great question, and I love to talk about it, get excited about it. But, for me, and I'll admit this, I had my first kind of, I guess, anxiety attack, if you want to call it, when I was, leaving the Marine Corps. I mean, combat zone, shot at, right? All of those things, operating like a Marine, it is what it is. But once I started to leave the Marine Corps and go get a job, I was anxious, and it was real. And I still remember that feeling. And here I was, staring at a potential government civilian job that I could have walked into. I was very fortunate with my last assignment that the government organization offered me that job. And it was a great GS pay grade. My family was there. It was our 13th duty station. We were tired of moving. We had a home, right? 15-year mortgage, we're going to pay it down and get our, our finances right and all those things. And, I'm a man of faith, so was, seeking counsel, from a lot of folks, certainly the Lord. And what's laid on my heart, Scott, was I've always had this entrepreneurial spirit. I want to give it a shot. I think I can start a business that provides, repair, healing to our veteran communities. And I want to give that a shot. And if it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, I'll do something else. But I was passionate about giving it a shot. And this was about 2 years before I retired. And this is the advice I would have is you really need to, if you have that entrepreneurial spirit, if you have that bug inside you, and a lot of folks do, and that's a good thing. I don't think everybody should have it, but we need entrepreneurs out there. If you have that, do your homework and be deliberate about it. And that starts, at least 6 months, if not a year out from retirement or transition. And I've seen so many of super smart folks, highly intelligent, well-equipped, a lot of money, and their businesses fail. And I'll tell you that most small businesses are going to fail. Look at the numbers that are out there. It's really tough. But do your homework. Really understand what your product or service is. Understand your target market, who is going to buy what you sell, the competition, and then start to list your differentiators and your descriptors, right? Your differentiators are what makes you unique. Your descriptors are how are you going to provide your value proposition. And then after months and months of research and analysis, right, because it is in depth, you start to develop this business plan or business canvas. And then once you get that, you're not ready to open shop yet. I would say list your assumptions. If you're going to show me your business plan, I'd be happy to look at it for you. The first thing I want to see is a list of your assumptions, those things that you believe to be true, that have to be true to make your business successful. And then once I look at that, right, I'm going to recommend that you go to any one of the multiple organizations that don't cost you any money. They're government subsidized or they're nonprofit organizations for veterans that help you prepare your business plan. PTACs, Procurement Technical Assistant Centers, I think they're called Apexes now. SCORE is another one. They're business mentors like me who will help mentor you. There's another really great organization out there called Veterans Institute for Procurement. Look that one up right now. It's free. It's a 3-day course. The information that you get at that course is a veteran startup or intermediate business or large business. It's absolutely tremendous. Take it to those organizations out there. Let them vet your business plan, provide that information, and then start and open your business and keep counselors, guys like Scott in your hip pocket there on your board helping you out.
That is a lot. And so good news is this is recorded so folks can come back and hear it. But I think the key I would offer to everyone there is, I talk to my coach about this a lot. There's something inside some of us that want to take a dip in the deep end and give it a shot. And I have always thought of, hey, others have made millions of dollars. There have been other successful multi-million-dollar companies. I can do it. And so I'm going to do it. And I look forward to going through the grind, through failure, through failures, through learning, through struggle and achieving. And maybe I'll take longer than most or longer than others, but at the end of the day, keep striving for it. So I appreciate that. That was really good. Hey, Benjamin, along those lines, had a question to you about capital. Where'd you raise capital? How do you raise capital? And so on and so forth, if you needed to.
Yeah. So, Benjamin, great question. And, I'll tell you, I'm a little biased on capital and debt, especially for veterans and businesses. There's a lot of tools out there. People will be quick to loan you money, and it does take money to start a business. But what I would say is do those things that I just talked about first, and then identifying how much capital you truly need, right? How much debt you might need to incur for a startup will become much more clear. And I would say that I've seen quite a few veterans don't take my advice and they go and they start experiential learning to startup, right? Hey, I'm excited. I want to do this. I've studied it for a couple of months, and now I've got this SBA loan for $1.5 million, right? Audie, help me out. I'm like, wow, man, we got a long ways to go, right? And so I would say really get that business canvas and then look for those grants, those different organizations that you will not have to incur debt. And then as kind of a last resource, if you do need startup funding, look for those venture capitalists, angel investors that are really genuine, and that aren't going to soak you in the agreement there. And then lastly, there's really great SBA programs that are out there as well. I shouldn't say lastly, I'll probably get in trouble for that. That's just me. We're a debt-free company. I took my life savings. You're probably not going to want to hear this, Ben. My wife didn't want to hear it, and I invested it into the startup. It was about for JCTM. It was a year before I took a paycheck, and we lived off my savings. My wife was working as a pharmacist there on base, providing our income. I had my retirement check, right? And we were living right at our means or right under our means that allowed us to do that financially. So it was a big investment. Not only did I turn down the GS, income coupled with my retirement, I didn't take a paycheck for a year. And there's been times early on where there's people positive, right? I, as the leader of the organization, if there's going to be cuts, I'm the first one to assume those cuts financially. And that's tough at times. You're operating for several years and you know what, that month you didn't get a paycheck. So you kind of have to be, that dedicated, that into it to make it work.
Yeah. With great risk is great reward, right? And so that the challenges of this is, you should, in my opinion, I'm a believer in being debt free as much as you can, if not completely, and trying to make wise decisions. And I think when it comes to raising capital, it really depends on what type of business you're running too, right? If you're selling, tractors, that's a lot of cash. Some of the professional services organizations, you may not need as much. So you have to figure that out. But that gets to your point, Audie, of prepping a couple years ahead and thinking through this. And that, and also weighing what your bank looks like to make sure you're making wise decisions. Where I can, I try to get grants so that I don't accrue debt. But I think you laid it out perfectly. So thank you there. Hey, Drew, you asked about a question. It is Scott. It is not sir. I appreciate it. So the day after Thanksgiving, every year I post my reading list. I do that on purpose. As Drew's asking about my reading list, I do that on purpose that day because that tends to be the day that people go out and knock grandma over at Walmart so they can go shopping and save a couple bucks. That's like Black Friday, right? Everyone's going shopping. So I post my reading list for the last 5 years. I've just posted my 2025 one. If you go back on LinkedIn, I can't share it here. There's nowhere to do that. But right now I'm reading Alexei Navalny, Patriot, a memoir. As I read earlier, a couple years ago, I mentioned the book Putin. This is the other side of that as I try to get deeper into the mind of a tyrant and a dictator of Vladimir Putin. So that's what I'm reading now. If others have great books they want to talk about, please share those. Man, I'm always stunned that the great celebrity chef Robert Irvine pays attention to anything I have to say. He shows up on the show and drops that in there. So that's DAV cool. Has a great program for entrepreneurs. Also, Robert, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And talking about that. So let me hop on where we're at still. So we touched on the future. You mentioned AI, and really, there's not a day that goes by now, for me at least, that I'm not immersed, playing with it, learning more about it. And I don't just mean ChatGPT, but all of the tools that are out there. Where is JCTM as it relates to artificial intelligence?
Yeah, so we're into it. We're down with it, Scott, and we have been for probably the last 18 months, really the last year. We have taken a point to kind of train our staff on it, technology agnostic, right? But certainly to try to harness the power of AI. And I was certainly fascinated with it. I got to tell you, 2 years ago I was kind of on the fence. I was like, oh wow, ChatGPT, let me check it out. And at first, I heard about things, and I was I don't know. I just wasn't a fan, but I didn't know. But I started to read about it, learn about it. And then again, this is 18 months ago, and really dive into it. And then I started getting some tools and kind of playing around. And then I had several, JCTMers. We have this program called JCTMX. It's where any JCTMer with an idea can kind of bring it up like Shark Tank, bring it up to our E&A executive administrative, and we'll give them funding. They'll start their program, and sometimes we'll compensate them for it. And then if their product or their service sells, we let them share in the reward of those contracts. So it's a really neat program. And we had several come and wanted to start an artificial intelligence program. And we coined it A2C2, Advanced Artificial Intelligence Command Course. And we started building this AI course for the government that really teaches government organizations about the technology, the risks, the efficiencies gained with it, how to use it, the importance of data, prompt engineering, all of those things. And we kind of tailored it. We have a course tailored specifically for the DoD and the warfighting functions. And it's been very successful. And we think there's a big need for that. But before we got to that, we wanted to test it ourselves and incorporate it into our organization. And I had all of our E&A staff attend the course. And it was, on weekends and stuff like that. So I wasn't a real big fan during that time. But they all got their accounts set up, and they're all using different AI technologies for their business function, whether it's HR, security, IT, finance, contracts, operations, even, corporate. And I'll tell you, Scott, the amount of time that AI can save you in routine tasks or complex tasks for the little bit of investment on the user's part of understanding the technology, setting the up account, understanding what prompts are, prompt engineering is, and how to use that. It has taken, for me personally, tasks that typically take hours and shorten them down into minutes in a quality level that I didn't typically have before. And we have seen that across our company, and we're just kind of hitting the tip of the iceberg. We think there's a big future in government contracting acquisition with AI. We're seeing the government start to use it more and incorporate and embrace it. And I'll tell my industry, partners out there, my veteran business owners, if you're not looking at ways to incorporate artificial intelligence into your business, I can promise you your competitors are. And you probably need to take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Benjamin, I'm not going to bring your question up, not because it's not a great one, but mainly because I don't want to get into too much of the tech. But Benjamin is asking about generative AI and the future of that. Great question. I think for a different time and a different audience, and you and I can have that offline if you like. But I'll tell you this, when my family goes to bed at night, I stay up late at night. I'm here in my office. And I have developed in a professional way almost a relationship I have with my AIs, and I'm asking them questions, I'm brainstorming because they're fast, they're not always right, but they get me to think of things, and I'll just throw things out there from history or whatever, and they'll have something that'll jog a thought, and I'll spend hours diving into something like that as it relates to business. So I'm a huge fan of AI. And where it is today is the beginning. It's only going to get better. I don't see any world or any future where artificial intelligence, to include eventually generative AI, doesn't exist. And we'll have to think through that, through the ethics and everything. But I sat through the A2C2 course on that weekend with you. And I would offer, the one thing I loved about the JCTM course is, one, it's available for others. So if you're interested, reach out to Audie, go through the JCTM website, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But two, it gets into the ethics of this, right? So, the importance of this, much like we had to deal with in the cyber domain, we're going to have to deal with in artificial intelligence as well. So thank you for that, Audie. Real quick though, if folks are interested in A2C2 or want to look at job offerings for JCTM, where they finding these?
Yeah, jctm.us. Our website's pretty straightforward. We have opportunities on there. Stephen Smith is our human resource officer. Reach out to him. Tell me you watched the podcast tonight, and Audie said you're going to hire me. You can say that'll be funny, and he'll laugh maybe. But we have a talent pool. And what I would say is, if you don't see a job that you like, or maybe you don't feel you're competitive for, sign up for our talent pool and stay connected. study our company, hit us up on the socials, on LinkedIn, stay connected with Steven and build that relationship, right? Even though you might not, and it doesn't take a lot, but commit to that relationship, and we'll see that over time. And we've had people, Scott, that have just done that, and people that, you know, we didn't serve with in the Marine Corps, maybe they're Air Force, Navy, Army, whatever the case is, but they stay connected and they keep, you know, kind of being part of our team, right? Tangentially. And then we build this relationship for them, and then we're trying to find a job for them because we want that person on our team. Yeah. So that's a neat thing. And if you have the time, you know, to do that, please do. And yeah, we offer, you know, facilitation training courses, A2C2, that is an AI course, you know, that's tailored for the government. And we've got a lot of government folks that are interested in that, purchasing that course. And we also do year-long, multi-year contracts with that program as well.
Yeah, it's really it's a great environment. Again, you know, you're going to transition out of the armed forces where you've been with your tribe. I found the time, even though again not an employee, but my time with Audie, with Tiffany, at your house where I brought my bulldog Charlie with me as I was.
Yeah, Charlie.
Right. I mean, just a great atmosphere and a great environment. And in my opinion, the standard that you want for a company, because
thank you.
People wake up and say, I get to do this, not I have to. And that's a good thing, right? And I don't speak for everyone, but I think it's a good thing. Let's get back to the conversation here for our audience. So you're a service member and you want to be competitive for civilian jobs. You want to be competitive for a job at JCTM. What would be some advice, maybe some tips you would tell someone in the military today, whether they're a sergeant major, a colonel? How can they become more competitive for jobs? Because regardless of your rank, that may get you in the door. And I have found, you know, my rank and my network gets me in the door, but that doesn't guarantee anything. You still have to be competitive. So what advice would you give service members, Audie?
Well, I may have mentioned this a little bit ago, Scott, but it's important. You know, I think you hear all the time, translate your military experience, right? You know, leverage your network. Well, I'm going to say identify your passion and augment your military experience around that. And then I'm going to say engage your network strategically. And, you know, what I mean there is to, you know, when people, you know, veterans hear that, and I heard that too when I was transitioning out at, you know, TAPS and SEPS class or what have you. And they were good, informative, you know, but they only went, you know, kind of deep, and they didn't really give me an advantage, right, over the guy sitting next to me. And that's what I want, you know, candidly. Yeah. And, you know, I think you want to leverage that network, you know, strategically by talking to somebody that might not be your best friend, but is in a field, a sector of vocation that you want to get into, that you're passionate about, and then have a call plan and ask them specific questions about how they got into that industry, that job. Do they like it? And then when you're about to hang up the phone with them, ask them if they would hand you off to one of their colleagues in that field. So then it's not you just talking to a bunch of buddies you served with, and that conversation is going to go about their job. They're going to complain, and then you're going to talk about sea stories, right? But be strategic in that. As far as your resume is concerned, and we look at a ton of resumes, the things that stand out to me the most are going to be those tailored, you know, objective summary things that I was talking about. Somebody has taken the time in their resume, you know, that beginning paragraph, I think that's what it's called, the objective summary or intro, where you go in and you have tailored that. You've done your homework on the company, on the organization, and you've tailored that. And the other thing I look for that just, you know, for me, it's very telling, is I look for any recent education, training, experience, books read, things like that, because I think that shows a commitment to the veteran that, hey, they've tailored their resume, they've done their homework on us, they're asking meaningful questions, and they're willing to gain relevant skills and knowledge specific to that job. I mean, I've been in interviews where, you know, candidly, we didn't have a lot of candidates. It was a tough position to fill, and we wanted to hire this person, and we're like, hey, we'd like to hire you, but we need you to take this 6-month course. We'll pay you, You'll have the job. We'll pay for the course. You get to keep the certification, but you're going to have to put in, night school, 2 hours a night, once a week. And they're like, no, I don't want to do that. And we're like, well, then you don't want to be here because that's what we need, right?
Yeah.
So those are a few things I think that I hope I wasn't too repetitive there, but that stand out to at least us here at JCTM for selection. And I'll tell you, there's 2 times that I think you can be hyper selective in your life. One's when you pick your spouse, and 2 is when you pick your teammates. And we are hyper selective here at JCTM.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope you are hyper selective when you pick your spouse. Yeah. All good. Really, really good things, and I don't have much to add. I think it's really important to reach out to people in the field you're looking to be employed in. If you're looking for a job, right? If I want to know how to make eggs, I might call Robert Irvine up as he just poked at me. That all he does is make eggs.
They're good eggs.
Pretty damn good eggs. But in all seriousness, if I want to, get into cyber, I'm going to reach out to those folks that I know that are doing cyber operations on a day-to-day basis, or cyber defense, or something in that field, and I'm going to talk to them. Me personally, the 2 traits that I look for more than anything when I'm looking to hire talent, after I've already figured out that they've got the character, I'm looking for someone who's driven. I would take someone who's driven over someone who's got a PhD out of Harvard any day. A meat-eating assassin, as I call it. If you are driven, I'll get you there. And the other thing is, I don't necessarily care about what you did. I care about results. So if you did something 1,000 times, that's really nice, but did you get results, right? As we talked about earlier, and quite frankly, you and I talk about a lot, Audie, is wins. Get the win. And it's something I take personal, especially on this side. I want to be known for business wins now, not, hey, I was a Marine of the Quarter 1,000 years ago. So results, include and to back up everything that you hit on there, Audie. So, wow, an awful lot on that there, Audie. So now you've got JCTM. If folks are also having a company of their own, what is the process that folks should be aware of when it comes to, okay, now JCTM exists. It is now an LLC. Now what? Now how do I compete for a government contract? And how challenging is that? And maybe even a little bit of that timeline, right? Because this doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. I mean, well, one, if I had that answer completely figured out, Scott, we'd be crushing it even more than we are. And we're very blessed.
But if I may,
I'm driven too. Yeah.
Yeah. That the fact that you even say that shows that this is not easy. This is challenging, but it is doable.
It is. I mean, you can ask our, BD team, our JCTM client advocacy team, Tiffany, Corey, and Jack, and they'll probably have some, things to say about me on this, because we're hashing it out right now. How can we get it 2025 and increase our P-win, our probability of win? And it's a challenge. And, and this is probably not going to be anything earth shattering, but I hope it conveys the importance, if you've heard this before. It's all about the relationships. And I'll take that a little further, especially if you're starting off with your small business. It's very challenging because there's so many opportunities out there that, you're just going to, what, squirrel? Let's chase this one. You have to have the strategic discipline to take the time to build strong relationships based on trust with your government client. And when I say government client, I'm being specific with what I call the 4 key client personnel. That's going to be your acquisition professionals, your TPOCs or technical POCs and program managers, your small business advocates, and then your senior stakeholders. You must, in my opinion, take the time, and this is months, to spend the engagement time with each of those. And each of those 4 key client personnel have different equities, different things that are important to them. And you need to understand what winning is for them. And you need to come prepared to spend time, ask questions, open-ended questions that help them solve their problems, and that you understand what drives them emotionally first and logically second. And when you can do that with all four key personnel, your probability of winning goes up, I think, significantly. You can have the best proposal in the world, the best pricing, the key client, or key employees on your proposal, and you can even know the commanding general or the senior executive, or that's good stuff. You have to have some of those things, but really it's about relationships. And I see so many small businesses that don't prioritize that. And this is what I tell people is, guess who already has an established relationship with those four key client personnel? The incumbent. You're trying to unseat the incumbent. And oh, by the way, your competition is trying to build that relationship as well. So that would be my advice is, for government contracting, ethically DFAR compliant, find the right way to build those relationships and demonstrate that you can get the job done and they can trust in you to do it.
Yeah. We could spend days, weeks, hours, years talking about the power of the network, of the connection, of the relationship. And I've seen it. I think the key to this, I just reached out to a gentleman who I admire because one of my, I don't really get into the New Year's resolutions things because it's not like I wash, rinse, repeat, and the next day I wake up and I'm a new person. But one of the things I wanted to focus this year on, and this is a bit of me, I'm going to be turning 50 in a few weeks. I'm a father. I can't be, Vegas Scotty anymore. I got to be out and be a little more mature finally, right? I'm finally maturing as a man. But in all seriousness, as I told this individual is, I want to be more of a gentleman. And I look at you, Audie, as someone who is that. And so when I say that, an example for my daughters to see, and I think of the power of a relationship comes not through trying so hard to have a connection in a relationship and building a strong network. It's through being a gentleman, being a professional, or a gentle lady, if that's the right term. I apologize, but you understand what I'm saying, is to being that professional. And you don't have to come across as a used car salesman. You can be genuine. You genuinely care about these folks. You also have something to offer, and you're open and upfront. Hey, I have something that I think business-wise can really help you out, and it takes a lot of time. So I appreciate you touching on that one, Audie. Hey, Eric wants to get into a little bit more deeper dive, if you will, on this interview process. So he's asking about what can a candidate expect regarding JCTM interview. We won't talk about the water board. We'll keep that out. We don't want them to know about the waterboarding.
Yeah.
Right. And the hiring process. But I think Eric might be SEER school trained, so he'll be okay. So talk about that a little bit, the interview and the hiring process. And I really love his second part of that question is, how has that matured, right? From employee one to where you're at today, how has that process kind of changed and matured? Thanks, Eric.
Oh, the second part of that question is spot on, Eric, and thanks for the question. It's a good one. Our interview process continues to mature. Like I said, you want to be selective. I said hyper selective. I don't know if that's the right term, but you want to be selective because we want the right people in the right seat on the right bus. And it doesn't mean just because, JCTM doesn't select you, it doesn't mean you're an amazing person. It just means that we don't think, based off our limited engagement with you, that we have a seat for you or you're the right person on the bus, right? So we got to put you in the right seat on the bus, go in the right direction that you want to go with our company. And that's a neat part about JCTM is we truly want the people to grow. As JCTM grows, so does our people, financially, personally, and professionally. And we talk about that in the interview process. But yeah, when we first started, Scott, our interviews, it was kind of the wild, wild west. I mean, employee number one here. So, I hired myself, but it started off with, friends, people that I knew, that I served with. And even then I had to be selective on, hey, are you yoked up culturally with this vision that I have that at the time was not really whole? And but I knew to surround myself with people that were of the right culture, the right mindset when it came to our values, and wanted to get into government contracting for the reasons that I wanted to start JCTM. They still wanted to serve, right, provide for their family, honor God, the marketplace, all of those things. And, so it was friends. But as any company grows, I would say that the people that you start with, all of them, are not going to be the people that are there 5 or 10 years or however long your company operates. Some of them will be, but some of them may not be. And that's okay. And I used to not think that was okay. I used to, never leave a Marine behind, right? That's okay. They can rise to the occasion. And sometimes they don't want to, they can't, or they're just at a point in their life where they really want to retire. Yeah. And it took me a while, just being, a little professionally vulnerable here, to understand that. And I think that's just business. And, as far as our interview questions now, they are, I don't want to give them all away, and we're not trying to stump the chump, but we start off our interviews by explaining who we are as a company in depth. Tom Smith, our COO, runs every interview. Our HRO sits on there, our security officer. I attend every interview. I might not be on screen all the time, but I need to listen, right? And we have this voting system that we go through afterwards based off of, the answers, and it's, by law. We're following all of our rules and, state and federal laws and regulations. But the questions that we ask when we get to those questions are typically going to start with the person's personality, their character, what's important to them as a human being. And then it's going to get into how well do you know our company? How well do you know where we're going, and what, form of study have you done? And then we're going to bring in the technical expert who's going to ask some very technical questions. And we're not going to pull any punches on that. We're going to say, hey, look, this is the job. Yeah. And here's the goodness about it. Here's the sucky parts about it. Here's the pay. We're very upfront with that. Here's the benefits, right? And you'll go through about 3 or 4 steps there. But the last few are typically I think the most important if you make it to that last, third interview step.
Right. No, awesome. Yeah. And I definitely don't want to get into, the specifics of the questions, but the general themes, right? And I think, like anything, is if you're preparing to interview, talk to those who have interviewed before. Talk to those that have done interviews before to get an idea, to understand how you have to dress, to be prepared, to know the company, do your research. The basics and fundamentals apply to all of this. Benjamin has got a question here. Audie, I'll take the lead there because I don't want to stump you, if you will. But about books, right? So related to business, there are a lot of them out there. I believe that business starts with people. And so I'm always going to go to how to win friends and influence people. But Audie, you've mentioned that book several times as well. Do you have another business book or two that folks should be considering?
Yeah, that's great. And I do. I read a lot. But the problem is I'm turning 52, Scott, and you asked me what I had for breakfast this morning. I have to think about it. But I'll tell you, there's a couple great apps out there that condense and summarize books, and sometimes I like to what I call eat the meat, right? And I want to eat, and other times I'm just eating potato chips, right? So there's some great books out there where I just skim on some of those apps that are great because it summarizes for it, or I'll use AI. And you can really pull some great nuggets from that. But, I think as business books that are some of my go-tos are Good to Great. Let's see here on the spot. 10X is a good one. The 40X, the 4 Disciplines of Execution. Highly recommend that book. It's a little bit older. Entrepreneurial Operating System is a new one that's out there. I think that book is Traction. Really good book too. Those are... there's books, there's different books for different aspects of the functional part of your business. But if you're the founder, the CEO, a lot of your books and reading are going to probably center on, how to take your business to the next level, how to grow it, how to mature it. And, I'm a big fan of having our department heads, one of their professional goals each year is to read a book in their functional area on business of their choosing, and then to summarize that for the rest of us at some point during the year. So I hope I gave you some good ones there.
Yeah, absolutely. Traction is one that when I was working with an organization, they recommended it as well. A first-class organization, a great book. That's a good one as well. I'd recommend. James, good to see you, brother. James Porterfield on there, retired Sergeant Major, my old teammate and friend out of Colorado Springs, who is a recent retiree. So good to see you on here as well, James. Hey, Audie, we somehow that's 55 minutes, so we're getting ready to wrap this up. I told you I can talk an awful lot. I'm going to turn it over to you here in a minute, but what I want to tell everyone is I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks here. I'm going to leave on Sunday, head up to Washington, D.C. I'm going to be doing my time with the National Defense University for a few weeks, which is something that I absolutely love. And I would offer the reason I love it is, one, I get to stay with my tribe, but perhaps for some other reasons as well. When individuals retire, if you have a clearance, what I love about working with the National Defense University is it allows me to keep and maintain my clearance as well. So things to think about as you retire. If you want to do certain things, is someone going to hold your clearance for you? Is this important to you? Or maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe you're going to go make eggs with Robert. Who knows? But where you may not need a clearance, right? So things to think about. You got to think through all of that. My next guest in February, we're working out the dates here, is an individual who personally helped me out with my resume. She is an expert in resumes, and we're going to deep dive into resumes. I want folks to understand if you're doing a government job, if you're doing a contracting role, or you need a general resume or a specific resume. How do you start with 4 years of a military service or 30 plus years? And how do you cram that all into maybe 2 pages or 5 or whatever the job is hiring for? So Cassie Hatcher will be my next guest on Beyond the Resume for the next episode in February as I get ready to leave here on Sunday. But Audie, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Sir, thank you again for being a guest on Beyond the Resume. Happy New Year. Please, any closing thoughts for us, for our veterans out there that they should be thinking about, and anything else we should know about JCTM? Over to you.
No, hey, thanks again, Scott. I enjoyed my time tonight, and I'm certainly privileged and blessed to work with you, Scott, and it's an honor to be here tonight. I want to thank your audience for listening in tonight. Friday night, you guys are listening in, trying to better yourself, and good luck to you, and thank you for your service. That is the further I get away from the retirement, I think the more emotional I get. I might even buy one of those red scarlet jackets. I don't know. But I just am so proud to be a veteran, but so grateful for the veterans who are serving today and retiring. So thank you. I'll do my best to help you out. Probably shouldn't do this, but Cooper@jctm.us. If there's anything I can help you with, busy person, but I'll try to carve out a few minutes and answer your questions or connect you with somebody that I know and help you out there. Take a look at our website too. And then, I just want to thank my JCTMers. It's an absolute privilege to work with my JCTMers. I'm so proud of you guys. I couldn't be surrounded with a group of better patriots than what we have here. And I'm so grateful to them and to everybody. Happy New Year, many blessings in 2025. And thanks again, Scott.
Yeah, thanks again, Audie. If you're listening, and you're just trying to figure out what's next for you, and you're in the military, and probably like me a couple years ago, I had no idea. I would spend some time thinking through what you have a passion for, what you love, maybe what you have academic credentials for, certifications or skills in, and then if that's what you want to pursue and do, start putting a plan together. And this show and other things that are out there, other veterans that are out there, are sources for you. I believe if you reach out to 10 veterans, you're likely going to get at least 9 responses, and they're gonna listen to you. Hey, Audie, you got a moment? I'd like to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. Hey, Scott, I know when people reach out to me, if they reach out to me honestly and they need some legitimate assistance or help with some things, and they come across professionally and kind, I'm going to set time to talk to them. I do it all the time. And I know most veterans are that way as well. I'm also going to likely tell you when I have no idea, right? And I am not the expert. I am not the expert in getting a government job. I am not the expert in writing a resume. I have written resumes and I've done certain things, and I've worked with government employees, but it's important to know who the expert is. All right. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the show Beyond the Resume. I look forward to the next show, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. God bless.
You guys. Bye.